Welcome back to Workplace Wellness Strategies, everyone. I am your host, Derek Anderson with the Elevate Performance Group. Today we have a very special guest, Mr. Jason Gonzalez. He's been in human resources for 15 years, and he's just well known for it. He's also served in both the U.S. Navy and the Army Reserves, and I just want to thank you so much for your service, my brother. We really appreciate you. We couldn't have this life without you. So, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good, Derek. Appreciate it. Thank you for your support. It means a lot to me and my family, so thank you.
Of course, always. So, today we want to talk about control, the aspect of control, and letting go of things in our thoughts and minds. It can be really difficult and hold us back. So, I want to ask you firsthand, do you have any, your experience with control? Have you ever had issues like letting things go, or what were some pain points in growth you had to take to mature?
Yeah, for myself, I would say more of a perfectionism, something I've battled for a while. Uh, Obviously, perfectionism isn't attainable, but learning from your mistakes and things of that nature are. So, letting go of that aspect, that control has always been something that I've instilled in me because I always want to do the best thing. I want to make sure it's right. I want to make sure it's perfect. But ultimately, when it doesn't go perfect, like then these self doubts and it lowers your self confidence and self esteem and things of that nature, which it's all within your mind. You can control those thoughts and just understand that. Learn from your mistakes. Being imperfect is good. It's not bad.
Yeah. One thing that I had to learn through therapy in terms of perfectionism, because that's me as well, is procrastination. That's tied to perfectionism, and I never really realized that. I've always been a hard worker, but sometimes, you have a task that is a roadblock to your goals and you have to take it on, and just kind of putting it off is a perfectionism element. Have you ever experienced that in your journey?
That I haven't. I've actually, as I've gotten older, like I've learned to, create to-do lists and prioritize, the most important things, whether it's for myself or, within the workplace. I've learned that over time. Obviously, when I was younger, that was an issue. But now, just learning from past experiences and just understanding that, you know, when you procrastinate, it makes things a lot harder. You put more pressure on yourself to get those things completed before deadline. So just having a plan out, way ahead of time definitely does wonders.
So, in your early stages of your career, when you were growing through control issues, what are some personal experiences that you had to face head on when it came to control and the thoughts in your subconscious mind to let go of?
Gotcha. So I would say one of my previous employers, we kind of had butted heads because I was more of the like not micromanaging type, and that said person was a micromanaging type, and they really hadn't dealt with direct reports before, so it was a brand new, obviously, experience for them. So little butting of heads and understanding that you do have knowledgeable workers that know the process, that know the subjects, things of that nature, that I had to explain to that said person that the work is going to get done. The need to control and micromanage. Like, I understand it feels weird and difficult because you've never been in a situation like this, but it comes down to trust. Trusting your employees, trusting your team that they're going to get the job done. And you have to have that communication. You have to have that dialect, an honest dialect. Obviously, not disrespectful, very respectful, and people appreciate that. Because sometimes they might not notice it. Nobody's ever said anything to them. So the fact that you say it respectfully and identify it, and then they notice it and fix it in a way that the team continues to progress, that opens up communication and forms that bond of trust.
So, were trust and communication the main two control issues that you've witnessed in your career? Or was there other elements as well that you guys had to battle?
I would say yes, definitely. Trust and communication. And I've learned over time, especially being in the military and things of that nature, communication is key. It's a team environment. Whether you're in human resources or you're in infantry. you have a mission, you have a task, you have a project, a program that you need to complete. Everybody needs to be aware, and communication needs to be at all four fronts, from the bottom up to the top, from the top down to the bottom, in order for everybody to be in tandem and be successful.
Yeah, communication is key. I've always really liked the phrase measure twice, cut once. And communication goes hand in hand with that because if messages are delayed or something's off, you're going to have to redo a lot of things. So, if I may ask, in your experience with your teams, what are some things you did to boost that communication and trust?
Yes, for me, whenever I was involved in any senior leadership conversations, and then I had teams that I had to relay the information to. Whenever we would have a meeting again, that would be like the first talking points I would come over. They're fresh in my mind. I jotted them down, and I just want to make sure that the team understands of what's going on, why some things may have been taking forever. Because if they don't know, there'll be all these ultimate questions they might feel as though they're not being included, or things of that nature. So to avoid that issue, I always communicate it to them what's going on while it's still fresh in my mind.
For sure. One thing that I've kind of discovered working with companies is if you can get people to be a little more vulnerable, then they start to trust each other more. So wellness kind of goes hand in hand with that. If they're like sharing their own personal goals as we start to grow with that, they'll be more open to communicate and trusting through different forms, either through us or what the company might use. So, has that ever been something you've experienced, kind of sharing personal goals, both health wise or just career wise, and that evolving the trust of the team?
Yeah, obviously I try not to make it all work related,
Mm-hmm.
because as we all know, there are things that come about in the workplace or, personal life issues, ups and downs, things of that nature. Um, when the wellness aspect, when those issues do occur, it affects, yeah, the mental state. It does, and ultimately, it can affect your performance. It can affect your relationships, work and at home. So, when I have come across those times when I'm feeling like a little down or things are going a little haywire, that nature, like I'm very big on, going to the gym in my case. I've been, man, working out for 20 plus years. The military
Oh,
obviously
yeah.
has instilled that in us. So for me, explaining that to others, you don't have to just work out. You could go walk, you could go jogging, um, do yoga, go into a sauna, things of that nature, meditate. That I found very successful, when helping cope with those negative thoughts within your mind. And when you're in those moments, at least from what I've experienced, like you forget everything. You forget those negative thoughts. You're so immersed within that moment that nothing else matters, and then when you come out, you feel refreshed. You're like, okay, I'm ready to tackle it again. So I found that to be very effective, not only for myself, but others that I have talked to and have definitely implemented it within their lives.
I love that you brought up the mental health aspect and even meditation because working on the mind is kind of undervalued or underdone in like HR and in wellness for the team. So that's kind of leading to what I want to talk about next is the subconscious mind because awareness of your thoughts is it's pretty low most of the time. Did you know that like on average we're aware of 6 to 8% of all of our thoughts a day, which is insane to me. So what's your experience with that and what have you done to kind of be more aware, self-aware of your subconscious thoughts and work out those negative ones into something that's beneficial for you?
Well, I would say with that, I think I read something a while ago. It was like the subconscious mind controls like 95%
Mm-hmm.
of our thoughts, and it could be from, early experiences in life, different experiences, different things we have seen, and ultimately, it's those behaviors and actions that we have that, um, we really don't have control over it. So for me, it's just understanding that information that I've been so comfortable with, those thoughts, my beliefs, things of that nature, like those are things that could hold me back from new experiences, such as this. This is my first podcast, and before I was so nervous to do it and things of that nature. Like it crossed my mind, but the belief of, oh man, like I got to be this perfect public speaking individual to be on a podcast and things of that nature when that's not the case. You're being your authentic self, but it's just your subconscious mind playing those tricks on you, just, based on, not taking risks, being nervous of, doing different things and of that nature. So,
Yeah, I like that you brought up the fear element because that's something that I tell people all the time is if you're scared to do something, you can flip that in your subconscious into something positive. Like maybe if you're scared, it's the universal energy telling you you should do this. Like if you get over this, right, get through that barrier, it's a new experience and it gets easier and easier. And who knows like who you can help in this element. So I'm glad you're here. In, in relation to your team, have you noticed any reoccurring subconscious elements that maybe your team's not aware of that you kind of bring it to their attention? Communication is one of those, right, as we previously discussed, but what are some other elements of control that your team has to let go of in order to thrive?
from my, personal experience from previous employers, I think a lot of it was self-doubt,
Mm-hmm.
a feeling of, it could be self-esteem of not being good enough, or just understanding. It could be previous bad relationships that they had at the workplace or with friends, different things of that nature that could ultimately affect how, they feel that somebody feels about them, when that might not be the case. Like, and
Right,
we don't know. Like, there's always going to be instances where people are going to like you, people are not going to like you, and you can't control that, but
right.
you can't control the thoughts in your mind. And you have to speak positive things into your mind frame, and understand like you don't know any underlying issues. You don't know if that person is really feeling or not liking you, based on your thoughts. So just constantly having those positive talks within yourself. Uh, I did that a few times at one of my previous employers. A lot of people would come to me and talk to me about things they've been dealing with, and I was always told like I'm very calm and cool person to talk to. I don't judge. I listen, and then you know I give thoughts and knowledge based on my personal experiences and how I've dealt with things. So uh, those are the things I mostly communicate. Always have positive thinking. You can't control what other people think of you. You really don't know at the same time. So as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do, you treat people with kindness, you treat people with love. Uh, that'll put you over every single time. So.
I've struggled with that myself. It's never been a lack of confidence or self doubt, but more like you're saying what other people are going to think. Like, what if I work as hard as I possibly can and it's not good enough for them? And it was hard to realize that, that's a subconscious thought of lack of control that's really holding me back. So it doesn't benefit you to go think about that. Like, you just have to let go of that thought. What the effort you put in may not work, but it doesn't matter. Nothing's going to happen if you don't try. You know what I mean? So what are some things you've done to help yourself and possibly others be more aware of their subconscious thoughts? And this kind of goes into, being in flow, staying more in the moment, and just letting go of those negative energies that don't serve you.
Yeah, so there was a project that I was on, um, dealing with one of the departments that they wanted to implement new features, and I remember just researching and delving into the information that like I literally lost track of time. Like I was so focused on it and just so immersed that even things were going on around that, issues in the workplace and things of that nature, that at that moment in time it did not matter. Like it didn't even cross my mind. And it goes back to obviously when I work out as well, when I'm doing something that I'm so passionate about, and I enjoy the process, that you you forget about everything else, and I try to tell people that, like, if you're dwindling on all the negativity, like, you're defeating yourself. You're automatically coming out the gate like, I'm done, like I can't do nothing else, when that's not the case. um, you have control of what you can do. You have control of your mind, of what the things that go into your mind. And that's what I try to do. And I'm getting better as I'm getting older and focusing on things that matter, such as, my family, my fitness, my health, things that I know I can control. You can't control things in the workplace. Things are bound to happen. Things are about to happen in life. In that picture, people get laid off. People bounce back. Uh, but ultimately, it's what you do during those times, that shows how resilient you are and the strength you have to overcome any obstacles within your life.
That's what's so cool about fitness is it's pushing you to be in the moment as you're going through something and pushing yourself. You don't really have time to think. Like you may like for me if I'm on the treadmill like oh I hate this I'm thinking about that but we're still gonna push through right. Just put your towel over the clock so you can't see what time you're at. But a really cool thing about fitness and movement is there is a creative element to it. And I'm sure you've been through this when you're designing your own program for that day. And the right side of our brain is so underutilized. So any creative element you can add into your wellness is going to make you more aware of your subconscious. And this goes for other resources as well. Like, you know how some people learn the best through audio, or some people through visual or writing. For me personally, it's writing. So to be more aware of my subconscious thoughts, it was journal prompts or slowly starting every time I thought of something negative, like, let's write this down, let's keep tabs on it, and you start to be more and more aware of it. Um, how do you learn? Are you aware of that? Like, are you a video guy or audio?
Gotcha. So I'd say probably it's been about 4 or 5 months now. Um, I've been going into the sauna. And when I go into the sauna, one of my best friends, he had told me about an app called Blinkist.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've ever
I
heard of
have
it,
not.
but
I'll check it out.
it's audiobooks, and they crunch audiobooks within 15 to 20 minute segments, the entire book, and laying out key points and things of that nature. So what I started doing while I'm in the sauna is I'll put an audiobook on, and then it could be about uh, thought awareness. Um, in my case, being introverted, what are some ways to, generate conversations? Um, just anything to start my morning, anything to get my mind, established and going before I tackle on the task for the day. Um, and I could tell you, ever since I've been doing that, I feel like so refreshed, like both physically and mentally. When I come to the house, take a shower, get ready for work, eat breakfast, tackle on the day. Um, it's like I'm a brand new man, and I
Yeah.
don't worry about what happened yesterday. Today's a new day, and new things will happen.
It's really good that you do it in the morning because I tell people whenever you have time to meditate or to work on your mind, there's always a good time. But in the morning when you're fresh, you're just more open to the positive, affirmations and everything coming your way. I have a side question though. How long are you in that sauna with the audiobook? Because I've tried this before, and my headphones, man, they just burn the hell out of my ears. I just had to ask.
Yeah, yeah. So about 15 to 20 minutes. That's max. Yeah, I can't do more than that. So.
Probably the little pods are better, right? Instead
That's
of
what
like
I
the
have.
studio. Yeah, I have the studio, so
Yeah.
there's leather straps.
Oh yeah.
So, do you have any examples of how much difference you see in your team when everyone's kind of in flow together? Obviously, the communication's better. Is anything else like hitting deadlines or just more collaboration?
Yeah, yeah. I specifically, as soon as you asked me that, I specifically remember one scenario at one of my previous employers that there was a stint that we hadn't implement like new features in a while because we didn't have enough resources, we didn't have enough manpower of that nature. But and then I remember us getting the manpower and the teams, and then we just started knocking things out, knocking these features out back to back to back. That it got to the point that the department heads were like, "Hey, can you guys slow down?" Like we weren't expecting to get all these things like right away. Which obviously that was it was it was good because it showed the communication, it showed the process that we implemented, it showed that we did need resources, we had the capability, we had the skills in order to do it. We just needed everything to mold together in order to knock it out. And I just when it happened, I started laughing when they were like, "Man, they're telling us to slow down, but we haven't done nothing, in a while." So I remember that specific scenario.
That's good. So when everyone is kind of let go and in flow, does that impact the organization in a bigger aspect in terms of productivity costs we just kind of talked about, but also like increased retention, lower stress levels? It all kind of connects together in your experience, right?
Yes, yes, for sure. When you're on all cylinders, you can just, even in a virtual environment, you can feel it through the conversations, through, the even through video, people's posture, the way they're talking, their everything, it all plays a part when everybody's all on the same cylinders. Um, Keeping it obviously is the hard part, or maintaining it is the hard part,
Yeah.
because it's once you get there, it's everything's free flow and everything's great, but just maintaining it for longevity can be hard. So you have to do new things. You have to constantly reassure people that, we are in this together, you know,
Mm.
one team, one fight, which we have always said in the
Oh, I
Oh,
military.
I
like
like
that.
that.
Yeah, you're obviously a great leader, and I'm an introvert as well. And the gift of being an introvert is being able to feel other people's energies and kind of helping them out. Have you ever had that happen? Like, happens to me all the time in the gym. One of my clients can tell they're going through something. Like, you good today? But that's good because everyone's on their own individual, unique, specific journey. So that's what I've kind of learned in working with companies is you have to take the time to get to know each person in their own specific journey, and then you can help them the most with whatever they're going through. So have you experienced that with a leadership role in human resources?
Within the leadership role, no, actually personal experience.
Right, my
Right.
bad.
Yeah, that so I was at the gym, and it was one day I was at the gym and I was in the sauna, and there was a guy in there crying, like literally crying,
Mm.
Mm.
and listening to his music and things of that nature. And I try not to be nosy and things of that nature, but like just for me, the type of person I am, I'm like, man, what is he going through? It has to be something that, and this is like 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just like, wow. So I like kind of was like, hey, are you all right? And we didn't go into details and things of that nature. And obviously he had to be going through things, but he was just like, I appreciate you asking me, and I think just having those little conversations, and it shows that there are people that do care for you, um, whether you know them for 5, 10, 20 years, or you just met them. Um, because you never know what people are going through. So whenever I see situations, whether it's at the workplace or just in an environment like that, when you can just tell something is off, like I feel it's at least my duty to find out and just, hey, it's gonna be all right.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're a great person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my experience.
I like that you brought up how we never know what someone's going through because people are so quick to judge or assume. And when you're doing that, you're kind of ignoring your subconscious and the flow, right? You want to say to yourself that I don't know what they're going through, but everyone's on their own unique journey and just not jump to conclusions because you never know how you may be able to help. We're just reaffirming them with positive energy. So, so Jason, anyone on a human resources team or anyone you know personally or to anyone who's listening, if they're ready to start their own subconscious mind journey in pursuit of this letting go and being in flow, what advice would you give them?
I'll say first and foremost, understand that you can't control what happens, in life. You know, you can't control what you believe in, what you value, first and foremost. So understand that, whether you get laid off or you have work environment issues, culture issues within the workplace. Ultimately, those are things you can't control, but just understanding that, is that something you want to deal with for the rest of your career, or do you want to feel and be at a place that their values match your values? Because ultimately, when you're at that point in time, you feel like you have a sense of control because everything's flowing as it should. Um, as well as second point, constantly, reiterate positive thoughts within your mind. Don't be afraid to apply for jobs that you may meet 50% of the qualifications, because if you're 100% qualified, you're not going to learn anything new. You want to at least be half of the qualifications. That way you can gain new skills, new experiences, things of that nature that ultimately you won't gain just doing the repetitive thing and your subconscious mind telling you, oh, I'm only good enough to do this because this is the only thing I've ever done. Um, so those are key points that I would definitely reiterate.
Nice. I would just briefly like to add the importance of gratitude to your positive thinking. I don't know if you have a routine for gratitude, maybe in the sauna or before bed, but for me personally, I try to write down or when I'm lying in bed, think of 10 to 20 things I'm grateful for every day. And that kind of makes you really self aware of your thoughts. And it's putting you in a good energy because so many times people think about what they want or what they don't have. And that's putting your energy into a place of lack. So you're still not going to attract those things. Like you're saying about applying for a job that you maybe meet 50% of. Like you're saying, if you don't go for it, it's definitely not going to work out. But instead of thinking like, man, I don't deserve this or I want it, no, just I'm gonna do my best, put in my best effort, and whatever happens, happens. Let go of it, be in flow, and continue to do your best work.
Exactly. 100%.
Well, Jason Gonzalez, thank you so much for joining us today. Is there anything you would like to leave the audience with?
No, I appreciate the time. This was awesome. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, Derek. Definitely, this is my first podcast, so obviously I was nervous at first, but going into it, it's just you have to try new experiences. You have to try new things. Never self doubt. Never have self doubt. Um, and remember, the only thing we can buy back is time. We can never get time, so you might as well take advantage of the time we have. New experiences, new things, time with the family, fitness, health, everything matters. So I appreciate this time for sure.
Those are very powerful words, my friend. You cannot get time back. And so many of us take that for granted so often. So thank you so much for sharing that. And thanks to everybody listening. You know where to find us, elevateperformancegroup.com. Jason, do you want to be found anywhere?
Yes, you can find me on LinkedIn, Jason Gonzalez.
I will drop the link for everybody on the video and in the YouTube section. So thanks so much for listening, everybody, and I'll catch you next time.